fresh clams, anyone? It was evening, and the red sun sat on the ocean like a cherry on top of a piece of cheesecake. Up in the sky, white fluffy clouds of whipped cream floated around. What a delicious view, I sighed. But just as I was beginning to enjoy it, I heard a mouse screaming. Ewie! That rotten stove is trying to kill me! It was my cousin's voice. Thea and I rushed to help him. What happened? What is it? We squeaked together. Trap was leaping around on one paw. This rotten stove keeps jumping up and down like a teenage mouse at a Wild Whiskers concert, shrieked my cousin, massaging his toe. I burned my paw with this clam sauce. He slumped onto the padded sofa to check out his toe. Maybe you too can set the table, at least, Trap continued. While you've been up on deck enjoying the fresh air, I've been busting my tail down here. He closed his eyes and yawned. Must I do everything? I gave the clam sauce a good sniff as Thea mixed it into the pasta. Now I know why in medieval times they poured boiling oil on their enemies from the castle walls, whined my cousin. He cradled his burned paw protectively. Why, Trap, I didn't know you were so cultured, I remarked, filling my plate. My cousin smirked. What culture? I got that from a cartoon on TV, he scoffed. You can find everything on TV, you know. Yes, of course you can, I answered absent-mindedly. I was sniffing at the sauce again. Are you sure these clams are fresh? What do you mean fresh? Of course they're fresh, Trap insisted. Cross my heart. It's just that smell, sort of like a skunk at a cheap perfume counter, I offered. My cousin jumped off the sofa. Are you calling me a liar? He shouted. I told you they were fresh as fresh can be. If you don't believe me, fine. I guess you just enjoy hurting my feelings. Thea grabbed a slice of bread and headed for the stairs. It's my turn to stand watch. She tripped, racing away. I hesitated for a moment, then began to eat very slowly. I don't think I'll have any clams after all. I lost my appetite, said Trap, nibbling some bread and cheese. At 2 o'clock that morning, I woke up with a horrible stomachache. I dashed to the bathroom, my glasses dangling off my snout. Seconds later, I tripped over the bath mat, banged my snout on the medicine cabinet, and plopped onto the toilet. Suddenly, I had a horrible thought. Could it be the clams that had made me sick? Just then, the bathroom door opened wide. Looking half asleep, Trap peered into the bathroom. Then he covered his nose with both paws. What are you up to? Building some kind of stink bomb? He coughed. Thea, woken up by all the noise, joined us. She sized up the situation in an instant. Spit out the truth, Trap, demanded my sister. Where did you really buy those clams? My cousin was silent. He stared down at the carpet. Well, I bought them in the fish department at the frozen food counter, he confessed with a guilty look. Frozen? I squeaked. But you told me they were fresh clams. Trap stood up straight. Well, yes, of course they were fresh at one time. The frozen clams were, a special offer. The mouse who sold them to me last month told me to eat them that same day or they would spoil, but of course, I didn't take him seriously. You know these sales mice, they always tend to exaggerate, squeaked Trap. Grrr! Sales mice, my paw, I cried. Do you realize you could have killed me with that poison? You should get a job as a chef at a cafeteria for cats. I tried to grab him, but I ended up stumbling over a roll of toilet paper instead. Why, oh why had we brought him along? A mystery on board. At dawn, on the 16th day of sailing, we were almost halfway to Treasure Island. After my watch, I went down to the galley, where we had stored all of our food. That's when I discovered the breadcrumbs on the floor. Strange. Very strange, I thought. The trail of crumbs led to a barrel full of apples. I lifted the barrel's lid. Inside, I found 5 chewed up apple cores. Do we have a stowaway on board? I decided not to say anything to the others, not yet anyway. If I was wrong, they would make fun of me for the rest of the trip. The next night, when everyone was asleep, I sprinkled some baby powder in front of the kitchen door. Then I tied a piece of thread to the doorknob. Early the next morning, I went down to check. Just as I thought, the thread had been broken. Yep, it sure looked like someone had been sticking their paws in the old cheese bit jar. Then I noticed the paw prints in the powder. How odd. They were very, very small. Could they belong to a dwarf mouse? I decided I had to do something before the little thief ate us right out of houseboat and home. That night I slept with my lucky baseball bat by my side. It was a present from Slug Rat Jones, also known as Sluggy, an old rat friend of mine who plays professional baseball. If that stowaway came after me, I'd be ready for him. It was 1 o'clock in the morning when I finally heard creaking sounds coming from the kitchen. I put on my glasses. Then I grabbed a flashlight with my right paw and the bat with my left. When I got downstairs, the sneaky thief was opening the fridge. I tiptoed towards him and switched on the light. "Aha!" I cried, ready to strike. Then my mouth dropped open. It was my nephew Benjamin, happily munching on a cheesy chew. "Hello, Uncle," he squeaked, flinging his paws around my neck. He kissed me on the tip of my snout. "Aren't you glad to see me?" "But why? But how? But when?" "I mean, what are you doing here?" I stammered. "I promised to make myself useful," he cried. "I'll sweep the deck, fold your clothes, stack your hats. Did you know I'm a champion stacker? I got an A+ in stacking at Little Tails Academy when I was in kindergarten. And I'll be your secretary too, so when you go back, you can write a wonderful book." There was only one thing to do. I gave him a giant mouse hug. "I love you very much, Benjamin," I said, "and I am very glad you are here. Why? How? What? When?" Mouse overboard! It was 11 o'clock at night, and I was standing watching at the helm. "Everything all right, Geronimo?" asked Thea. "It would be even better if you didn't call me Geronimo," I squeaked. It was getting colder. Was the weather going to change? I lifted my snout to look at the clouds, but just then the boat tipped, and the boom hit me on the back. Before you could say grilled cheese on rye, hold the tomato, I was knocked overboard. I didn't even have a chance to squeak. The boat sailed away from me as I floundered in the waves. Fortunately, Thea had seen me go over. "Mouse overboard!" she shrieked. Immediately, all the lights came on and the lucky lady turned toward me. Trap switched on the searchlight. "Help! Over here!" I cried, waving my paws. The waves were throwing me up and down like a ratty Ann doll in a clothes dryer. Cold water seeped into my fur. My teeth began chattering so hard I thought they would bounce right out of my mouth. "There he is!" I heard someone shout. Suddenly, I was flooded with light. They had spotted me. Benjamin threw me a line, but I couldn't catch it. Then I felt a strong paw grab me by the ears. It was Trap. "Come on, cousin, grab hold of my tail," he screamed. He dragged me back to the lucky lady. Ben and Thea lowered a rope ladder. Splat! I spat out a spray of water and opened my eyes. Trap was jumping up and down on my stomach. "He's alive! He's alive!" cried my cousin. My ears were blue from the cold. Thea was holding my paw. Tears shone in her eyes. "Uncle Trap, you really are a hero," Ben exclaimed. "Really, Trap? We don't know how to thank you, Thea added gratefully. Trap was blushing. Oh, it's nothing, Rattlings. Just another day for me. Don't mention it, he shrugged. He strode away, whistling the theme song from his favorite TV show, X-Mouse. What a character. Trap pretends to be tough, but he's really a total softie. In fact, I'd say he's just as soft as my Aunt Matilda's homemade cream cheese.